action, truth transforms lives, and Jesus Christ is the center of it all. This is more than just a ministry. It's a journey of discipleship, spiritual growth, biblical truth, and kingdom living. Whether you're seeking hope, a deeper understanding, or a closer walk with God, you've come to the right place. So get ready, get encouraged, and be challenged and empowered through the word of God. Welcome to Kingdom Walk Ministries. Today, our lesson plan for today is going to be pretty quick. Our lesson plan today will be coming from 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 1 through 5. And what is the topic of today's lesson? From the staff to the sheep. From the staff to the sheep. So let's read. 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 1 through 5. The elders who are among you, I exhort. I am a follower or a fellow elder and a witness to the sufferings of Christ, and also a partaker of the glory that will be revealed. Shepherd the flock of God which is among you, serving as overseers, not by compulsion, but willingly, not for dishonest gain, but eagerly, nor as being lords over those entrusted to you, but being examples to the flock. And when the chief shepherd appears, you will receive a crown of glory that does not fade away. Verse 5. Likewise, you younger people, submit yourselves to your elders. Yes, all of you be submissive to one another and be clothed with humility. For God resists the proud, but gives grace to the humble. For God resists the proud, but gives grace to the humble. So the opening thought here, when reading 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 1 through 5. What are we trying to get to? First, what is the health of the flock? Every church has visible things that people notice. The preaching, the worship, the programs, the buildings, the attendance. But beneath every healthy church lies something less visible and far more important. The relationship between shepherds and sheep. A flock can survive without impressive facilities. A flock can survive without popularity. But a flock cannot thrive without shepherding. And Peter understood this. Writing to believers scattered by persecution, uncertainty, and suffering. He could have begun this by discussing endurance and spiritual warfare, but what does he do? Instead, he begins with shepherds. Why? Because when storms come, sheep don't survive because they understand the weather. They survive because they trust the shepherd. A flock's greatest security is not found in the absence of danger. It's found in the presence of a faithful leadership. And this is as true today as it was 2,000 years ago. And whenever God builds people, whenever he builds people, guess what he does? He raises shepherds. And whenever Satan attacks the church, he often attacks either the shepherd, the sheep, or the relationship between the two. From Genesis to Revelation, God reveals himself as a shepherd who lovingly guides, protects, corrects, and provides for his people. The image of a shepherd is not just a leadership model either. It's a picture of God's grace, God's heart. Psalms 23 verse 1 says this: "The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. So, question. Think about the best leader you have known. What made you trust them? Was it their position? Was it their personality? Or could have been something even deeper? The Christian life is often described as a journey, but Peter describes it as something even more personal. A flock following a shepherd. That image is powerful because the sheep are among the most dependent animals in creation. Unlike wolves, they have no fangs. Unlike eagles, they have no wings. Unlike deer, they have no speed. Their survival depends largely upon staying close to the shepherd. The same is true spiritually. God never designed us to navigate life alone. He designed us to flourish within his care and within his. He said, shepherd the flock of God among you. Notice Peter does not say, manage the flock, control the flock, or even build the flock, or even impress the flock. He says what? Shepherd the flock. Because people are not just projects, or people aren't just projects. They're actually souls. The church is not a corporation. It's a community. It's not a machine requiring management. It's a flock requiring care. A shepherd, this is his job. He must feed the hungry. He must protect the vulnerable. He must guide the wandering. He must restore the wounded, and he must strengthen the weak. But a manager, think about a manager at your job. If you're not a manager yourself, or even if you're a manager only cares about performance, but a shepherd cares about people. A manager asks, how productive is the flock? A shepherd asks, how healthy is the flock? Here's a quick metaphor for you. A gardener cannot pull a flower to make it grow. Growth comes from consistent care. Likewise, shepherds do not manufacture spiritual growth. They cultivate environments where growth becomes possible. Question: why do you think God chose shepherding, not management, as his model for spiritual leadership? Think about that. Peter teaches that elders must serve willingly and eagerly, not because they are forced, not because they desire recognition, not because they seek personal gain, but because they genuinely love God's people. A shepherd's greatest qualification is not authority. It's care. It's affection. People may respect your position, but they flourish when they know that you care. Let's give you another metaphor. The difference between a shepherd and a hireling is revealed when danger appears. When wolves arrive, the hireling protects himself, but the shepherd protects the sheep. One values comfort, the other accepts sacrifice. One asks, what will this cost? If I leave? Here's another question. How can people recognize whether a leader genuinely cares for those they lead? Let's think about that. Being examples of the flock. Peter reminds us that leadership is not exercised primarily through commands. It's exercised through example. The strongest influence is not instruction, it's how you demonstrate. Demonstration. People often lean more from what leaders say, or we learn more from what leaders do than what they say. Have you? Influence borrowed from a title eventually fails. Influence earned through character endures. So think about this. What qualities make a leader worth following? Comment section. What qualities make a leader worth following? Why? It's a great question. Why? Because we have wolves in this modern day era. Every flock faces danger. And Peter knew this. And the dangers facing God's people have never disappeared. What have they done? They just changed disguises. Wolves rarely announce themselves. False teaching rarely announces that it's false. Temptation rarely advertises consequences. Pride rarely admits its pride. Division rarely begins as division. Most spiritual dangers arrive dressed as opportunities. Let's talk about modern day wolves. What are some traits and characteristics of a modern day wolf? Let's go over this. Some traits. False doctrine. How many times have we heard false doctrine? How many times have the church or have members of the church or people that was interested in following Christ, they heard this false doctrine and they left? It wasn't biblical. It wasn't biblical. Gossip. There's gossip in the church. How many people have left the church because of gossip? Bitterness. How many of us have been bitter because of the church, because of people in the church, because of the shepherd of the church? Sexual immorality, manipulation, spiritual complacency, cultural compromise, consumer Christianity. How often do we see consumer Christianity right now? How often? Leadership abuse, social media deception. How often have we looked on social media and saw a leader speaking false doctrine and leading people down a path of destruction? A wolf's greatest weapon is not its teeth. It's separation. It's isolation. Predators rarely attack the center of the flock. What do they do? How do they attack? They attack the wandering sheep, the isolated sheep. The enemy understands something that many believers forget. Many of us forget this, and the enemy understands that, and he uses it as a tool and as a weapon. Isolation weakens discernment or understanding. If the enemy can get you isolated, oh, that's an meal. That's free food right there. He rarely attacks the sinner. He attacks the isolated sheep, the isolated Christian, the person who feels out, the person who puts themselves away from the sheep. That's the enemy's greatest weapon. It's to isolate you and then to attack. But what happens? Community. How do we fix this? Community strengthens protection. Community. So I have a question. What wolves do you think are most dangerous in Christians today? What wolves do you believe are most dangerous to Christians today? Now, Peter addresses something here. In 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 1 through 5, based on my study, this is what he addresses. He addresses elders, spiritually mature believers. This teaches an important principle. God values maturity more than visibility. The kingdom is filled with gifted people, but gifting is not the same as maturity. Gifting is not the same as maturity. Let me give you a metaphor. Based off of my study here, I'm just breaking it down to you. Let me give you a metaphor. A tree's ability to survive a storm is determined long before the storm arrives. The deeper the roots, the stronger the stability. People often admire fruit. God develops the root. The hidden life sustained in a visible life. Charisma. How many times have we seen a preacher or a pastor with this beautiful charisma? He just exudes charisma. Charisma may open doors. Character determines whether you remain standing once you walk through them. Question: why can gifted but immature leadership become dangerous? Comment section. Even after this live, put it in the comment section. Why can gifted but immature leadership become dangerous? And in this, he's speaking about elders, but he's also speaking to the sheep. And we have to learn how to be sheep. We have to learn what traits and characteristics and attitude we must have in order to support our shepherd. Peter shifts his focus here too, because healthy churches require more than faithful shepherds. They require teachable sheep. It says in this word, clothe yourselves with humility. Humility is the atmosphere where growth appears or where growth occurs. Without humility, correction becomes offense. Instruction becomes irritation. Guidance becomes resistance. Lord have mercy. The greatest obstacle to spiritual growth is ignorance. Let me add to that. It's not just ignorance, it's unwillingness. Unwillingness. Ignorance, not just ignorance, but unwillingness. So why is humility important for both leaders and followers? Think about that. Comment section, you can answer however you like. One of the least discussed realities in ministry is the weight that shepherds have to carry. My father has been a minister all my life. Before I was even born, I've watched the ups, I watched the downs. I've watched what the sheep can do to the shepherd, and I've also watched what the shepherd can do to the sheep, and I've also watched what the sheep can do to the sheep. Thank God we have a chief shepherd. Lord have mercy. They celebrate victories. These are shepherds. They walk through funerals. They counsel broken families. They pray through crisis. They bear burdens many people could never see. Hebrews 13:17 says, what it does is reminds us that shepherds watch over souls and will answer to God for that responsibility. That's a sacred weight for shepherds to carry. So be careful on how you respond to your shepherd and how you treat your shepherd, because he has a weight far greater. So how can we support our shepherds? There's a few ways that we can support our shepherds. We can pray for them faithfully. We can encourage them intentionally. We can refuse gossip. We can protect unity. We can serve joyfully, and we can extend grace generously as sheep. How can believers become a source of strength rather than a source of strain for their spiritual leaders also? The comment section, you can always answer any one of these questions, any statement, you can always answer, put it in the comment section. Now we come to Jesus. Jesus, the chief shepherd. In verse 3, it reads, nor as being lords over those entrusted to you, but being examples to the flock. Verse 4. And when the chief shepherd appears, you will receive a crown of glory that does not fade away. You will receive a crown of glory when the chief shepherd appears, and it will not fade away. This is 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 4. Everything Peter said, it leads here. We're talking about the chief shepherd. Beyond every pastor, behind every elder, behind every leader stands who? The chief shepherd, Jesus. Human shepherds may fail. How many times have we seen in the church human shepherds fail? But Jesus, he never fails. Human shepherds may become weary, but Jesus never grows tired. Human shepherds may overlook needs. Jesus sees every tear, every wound, and every fear. At Calvary, something extraordinary happened here. The shepherd becomes the lamb. The one who led the flock stepped into the place of the flock. The one who deserved a crown received a cross. The one who was without sin carried the consequences of sin. The shepherd laid down his life so that the sheep can live. Every shepherd carries a staff, but Jesus carried a cross. And through that cross, he opened the way home for all wandering sheep. Question. What does it mean to you personally? What does it mean to you personally that Jesus is the chief shepherd? What does it mean to you? What does that mean that Jesus is the chief shepherd? And final, here's your final challenge. It's final. Consider these and answer them honestly. Am I following Christ's voice or merely religious routines? Am I connected to the cross, or am I connected to the flock, or am I drifting towards isolation? Am I growing in humility? Am I strengthening, or am I burdening spiritual leadership? Am I becoming someone others can safely and securely and honestly follow? Because every believer is called to follow the chief shepherd. Every believer is called to follow the shepherd. And every believer is called to help others find him. Here's my closing statement, and we'll be through with this live. The church, we are the church. So don't get it mistaken. The building is a building, but it is not the church. We are the church. We are the ecclesia. We are the church, not the building. That's a building. That's where we come together and gather together and strengthen one another, iron sharpening iron. So don't get it mistaken. When you say I'm going to church, no, you are the church. You're going to the building where the church goes to. Don't get it mistaken. We are the ecclesia. We are the body. You are the temple. Wherever the temple goes, that's where the church is. We are the church. The church is strongest when shepherds walk closely with God. And sheep stay close to the shepherd. So when shepherds lead with love and sheep respond with humility, the flock becomes more than a gathering of people. It becomes a refuge in the storm, a family in a fractured world. Isn't this world fractured? Lord have mercy. A light in the darkness, a testimony of God's care. Woo! And in the end, healthy shepherding does more than grow churches. It protects souls, shapes generations, and guides people safely home. So are you being a sheep or are you being a wolf? Are you leading with love or are you leading with drama and gossip? How are you leading in the family of Christ? How are you leading in the church? Are you helping your shepherd? Are you helping the other sheep? Sheep help sheep. Shepherd helps all of us. So what is your position in your church? Are you guiding the sheep or are you leading them astray? Are you leading with love or are you leading with gossip? Where is your heart in this? Is it because you are looking for a platform? Is it for the platform or is it for the glory of God? Our position in life as sheep is to lead and is to follow the chief shepherd. Amen. Amen. Thank you so much for watching and tuning in. I really appreciate you for being here. As often as I can during the week, I will be giving you a little word, little Bible study here and there based off of my studies of this word. You see how my Bible looks? It don't look brand new, right? I'm in this thing right here. God is leading me in a direction and a path that's sort of uncomfortable. But you know what? It's not always supposed to be comfortable. Life is not supposed to be comfortable. When God leads you, sometimes it's uncomfortable because it's outside of you. I've been running for so long. My father's a preacher. My whole life, I've been running till I decided to answer the call. And this has been about 2 years since I decided to answer the call. So now my job, my role is to bring souls to Christ, is to give you a more deeper understanding and to remove the traditionalized teachings and to give you sound doctrine and to help you in your life. Iron sharpening iron. That's all we're doing here. Thank you so much for tuning in. I love you. I care for you. I will always be a leader to you. And I can't do this without God. So all glory be to God at the end of the day. I study hard and I study long and I bring this word directly to you. So thank you for tuning in. If you haven't already, please like, subscribe, do all those things to this video that helps it get through the algorithm because we want to share the love of Christ, right? We want to help more souls come to Christ. So thank you so much for tuning in. I love you. I appreciate you. And until next time, thank you.